Hi, I'm Drew. On today's episode of Mission RV Services, our customer complaint is that they have a new battery and they still aren't getting power to the coach. Now, that could be a couple things. It could be a bad converter, could be our bad reverse polarity fuses, right? Let's say they put the battery in backwards. You know, we've talked about reverse polarity fuses in the past, but today we've kind of already have an idea of what we're looking for, but we're going to take you along as we replace what's called a relay. So it's a self-resetting relay that usually is between the battery and the 12-volt system, and that is a resetting fuse. It self-resets, but eventually they go bad. So today we're going to look. We're going to find out where that is by the battery, because that's our sneaking suspicion. That's what it is today that we're going to be changing out. Once we figure it out, find it, put our meter to it, and validate that, then we'll go ahead and, if it is needed, we'll go ahead and change that. We'll show you how we change it, and we'll take you along for the ride. So let's go. Okay, so this is why we kind of have our sneaking suspicions that this is not working correctly. So our battery disconnect, we're going to disconnect, turn that off up there. And so when we come in here, I see that the positive post is off, so it tells me I have a battery drain. But the other reason is, the last time we were out here and we did a few basic checks, this wasn't connected like this. So that tells me the customer, based on our conversation of my initial checks, because we had come out here to measure an awning for them and we couldn't run it out, and I had to bypass this, but I needed to dig into it a little bit more before I 100% said this was the problem. But they have now bypassed it themselves. So never do this. This is very dangerous. These relays are for a reason, right? So this thing was either tripping or breaking. If it wasn't going bad just on its own, because this is a 15-year-old camper, this could be very dangerous. Now, I guess the good thing is that they did take the positive post off of there, so at least they weren't letting power stay to that switch. But I did tell them that I had to come back, do more validation on that to see if we could, just because we want to make sure that this is not going to cause a fire or just keep unsetting or shutting off on its own. So we're going to undo what they did. We're going to validate that circuit, and it's not a hard fix. It's definitely something easy to do relatively. It's harder to figure out what the problem is, but we're going to get to work on this, and like I said, so we'll get started. We're going to grab a couple tools and just get in there and get this switched out. And we actually have to take quite a few things off, because there's a bar that goes straight down here, and we can show you that real quick. There's a bar. Man, this always reminds me of the joke that we give our rates to customers, and we always say, if we do the job, it's one amount. If you tried to do the job before we did, then we charge a different rate. And this kind of falls into the line of that old joke. But these are things that we see a lot, and be careful out there, people. We guys and gals, we don't want you getting hurt, and we don't want you causing damage, but this takes that safety switch out of the equation here, and it is not helping you or anybody else. Yeah, you're going to get some power temporarily, but maybe as a quick emergency. But it's been a couple weeks since I've been out here, so but we're going to get it fixed today. First thing we're going to do is we're going to undo what they did, and we're going to take this bypass situation off here. All right, so we've taken that off, and what we want to do now is get this out of the way. And now we're going to take our voltmeter, we're going to put it to voltage. We're going to select voltage DC, and at this point I'm going to take the positive, hook that back up to the battery, just snug it down temporarily here. So what I want to do is I want to find a good ground for this. So I'm going to use the battery. Let's see if we can get this set up so you can see it. So first we'll do our battery check. We have 12.9, 13 volts. That's good. It's a good battery. So now I'm going to stay on my ground here and do some checks. So now if I take battery disconnect, so now validated that again I don't have power at these relays, right? So that's what I want to do. So everything's going to come from the battery disconnect here. So now we're going to go ahead, turn the battery disconnect back on. Now again I validate, I got my 12.6, 13 volts. I'll come up here. Now I'm going to start having voltage, right? So I can check all these relays. I'm doing good, doing good, doing good. And this is what we found a couple weeks ago. See this here? I have nothing there. Now I go here and to here, I'm good. So they were bypassing this, but this is actually the culprit. So I have a feeling that they tried to go in and try to bypass a relay based on our conversation. I never told them which relay it was, and this is the actual culprit is here. So I have 13 volts going in and I have nothing coming out. So this goes into the fuse panel from the battery, and this is how this battery would get charged from the converter. So this is our culprit right here. I have a feeling it's just an old relay. So I did do some checks the last time we were out and didn't see any other concerns while we were doing that. But we're going to tighten this back up here, and then we're going to take this apart, get this bar off here. So when we do that, what we're going to do is, just to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and turn this battery disconnect off again. I'm going to remove the 12 volt source right here. This unit isn't plugged in, so I don't have a converter on. We're out in a field right now, and definitely need this battery because we're also replacing an awning on this today. If you want to see us replace an awning, we did a video of that a couple weeks ago. It's a good watch, so check it out. But today is just we're just gonna kind of take you along on a little breaker episode here. And so once we get this off, on the side of it is all the data for this breaker. So I'm thinking it's probably going to be a 40 amp breaker or a 50 amp breaker, but we'll figure that out a little bit more once we get this back together. So what are some reasons why you shouldn't do this on a breaker? Why shouldn't you bypass it? Now, like I said, if there's an emergency, say you're stuck somewhere and you got to get a slide out in, and you're handy with the meter and you're able to get in and check this. So maybe in that case, as a quick bypass, you could go in and you could you know, bypass that, get your slide out in, get your awning in, whatever it is that you're having a concern with. But immediately after that, you should go right back here and you should undo your bypass, because this could be a ticket to a fire. Now, a few weeks back again, we had to go out and replace a power center. If you guys recall, we did a short and mouse urine had caused a pathway for damage. And so imagine that. Breakers didn't even work in that case correctly. So imagine if you had no breakers at all, you had no recourse in order to try to stop that from happening. And unfortunately, that all too common can cause a fire inside your rig because you've eliminated your safety device. These are, like I said, these are resettable breakers, resettable relays. You'll hear them called a couple different things. You might hear them called a frame relay. But really they're just another circuit breaker for 12 volt. So we're gonna take both of these off so we can get this off here a little bit easier, and then we'll just bend back the copper bar across there a little bit, and then we'll have a clear shot at getting that out. So there's the top, here's the bottom, there's the meter falling down. So there's another check we can do on this. Well, we have this part out, so we can do a continuity check also. So we've really already validated we don't have power going through there, but like if I go to this one up here, I have good continuity tone through this relay from side to side. Now if I do this one, go post to post, I have nothing. I have no continuity between these two posts. Now if power was going to this and I had an issue on one end of this relay, the breaker would be tripped in there or waiting to reset, right? Once the amps reduce or the heat reduces, it resets itself. And here, nothing, no resetting at all. So that is our culprit. So we are gonna continue here, get this changed out, and we may have to loosen all of these up to get this out. I don't want to bend it. It's again, it's kind of old, but we don't have to take everything all the way off. We can just loosen them up a little bit. That loose, and then this will slide right out of there. These all share the same 12 volt power supply, so we're going to take that right out. There we go. Set that to the side. Make sure we keep our screws to the side that we're going to need. And then we got a number 2 square head up here, which is going to hold that relay in. Looks like they just did it on every other side because they're using the bus bar as a hold. So we'll grab a number 2 relay. If you like these color coded ones, Harbor Freight, or as some people call it, Hobo Freight. But we go through a set of these probably a set a year, so they definitely last for the 10-15 bucks they cost, and they go right into our impact very well there. All right, so this is a 50 amp, so we're going to go grab a 50 amp breaker, and we're going to get this replaced. And you'll also notice that you have a copper and a standard pin size here. So we have the copper breaker bar, so that's our in and our out. So we're going to keep that the same. Make sure when we put that in, we keep it lined up with our in and our out on our breaker, and we'll get this 50 amp changed out. So we have our new 50 amp. So what we're going to do is we'll do a quick continuity check. We've got continuity, ladies and gentlemen. So now we can go ahead. So before I put that on, we're going to go ahead and put this back in to position. And again, as all RVs are, no room to work. All right, so that's back in place. We're going to go ahead and put our, got a loose one down at the bottom there too. So now remember, this bus bar did not go into the top. It was only across the bottom. All right. And then This one went on there. This one went on there. This goes here like that. Now we're going to take our 3 screws, get them on here. Hopefully you guys can see this because, you know, not a lot of light in here. We do have our little light going, but not the best light in the world. Now, see, I did something wrong, right? Should have put this cover on. So the other cover, the old style, has a straight cover that I guess you could cut that off and put it on, but let's do it right. So, show you the good with the bad, right? Sometimes we get ahead of ourselves. Gonna take that back off there. Then we'll put this over the top. I'll take both of those off. Get that off there. We'll get this in. Oh, interesting. Because of the way the wire is, I may have to do exactly what they did. So we're just gonna cut this cover off here and do the exact same thing they did with the other style. Alright, so that makes more sense now because they can't use that wire style. So I got those in. Now we're going to go ahead and tighten everything back up. Plus we'll check all our other ones at the same time. Let's tighten this bottom one next. That way this bus bar is not trying to move on us. Alright. Snug down our other ones. All right, last one. And this is our main feeder right here. This is what is going to take all our power back from the battery to the converter and back so it charges. So now we're going to hook our battery back up, get this connected, and then we're going to grab our meter here. So with that not in bypass, you can then go ahead and you can take this and turn your battery disconnect switch off up here, and that'll keep your battery from dying as long as there's not some weird draw going on. So everything's good there. We got everything tightened up. Now we're going to do another check. So one more time, we're going to go back to, let me see if I can get you in a better position. I'll lower myself down here. So we're going to take this back to voltage, DC, and we're going to go to our good ground source, which is the battery. And here's our, turn our disconnect back on. Now go to our, check our battery one more time. Where's our 12.9, 13 volts. So now we're going to go back. We know we're good there. We know we're good here. This is the 50 amp breaker we replaced. That's a type 1 breaker. And we know we're good there. So, but here is the moment of truth. There it is, ladies and gentlemen. We are 13 volts. So you saw disconnect battery, turn your battery, disconnect off, and then you can come in here, you can do a continuity check, a voltage to voltage check. So now what we'll also be doing is throughout the day here, while we're doing some other projects on this camper, I'm going to be checking voltage occasionally, but that is how you change a circuit breaker, and you also find out how it's bad. A type 1 breaker, and that is a self-resetting breaker. Whereas if you're in your fuse box inside, you would flip your 110 volt breaker, 120 volt breaker. Here, this 12 volt, these are self-resetting. So they're self-resetting till they aren't, or they're just, maybe there was corrosion inside of the old one. It doesn't look bad just looking at it, but inside of that, if we were to take this all apart, we might find some corrosion in there, or it's just not making good contact anymore. But whatever it is, $10 fix, throw the new one on, and now we're good to go. And let us know in the comments down below if there's any videos you'd like to see, or anything, you know, hey Drew, I've been wondering how to do this, or how do you do this? We'll be happy to answer those questions for you. And until next time, everyone, this has been Drew with Mission RV Services. See you later.